Welcome to Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights, a podcast by coaches for coaches. Our guests share their hard-won wisdom to help you grow your coaching business and create a life of success. So get ready to unlock the blueprints to your success. So welcome everyone to our newest episode. We are thrilled to have you here, and we are thrilled to have our special guest, Mari Leigh. She's a trauma and mindset coach. So welcome to the show, Mari. It's lovely to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
Brilliant. So tell us a little bit about your journey. How did you become a trauma and mindset coach?
I did not think that this would be my path. I started my own business in 2017, doing website design, marketing, branding, and I was really good at it, but I quite frankly did not enjoy it. It was something where I always felt frustrated. I am someone who craves depth, who craves connection, more. I wanted more. And I found it very frustrating that doing what I was doing, while it was working with women specifically, I was helping small businesses get started and be successful, and it was amazing work. It was not fulfilling by any means. When I moved to Wilmington, North Carolina, which is where I am now, in 2019, I fell in with a group of entrepreneurs, all of which who were doing a lot of personal development. They had their own coaches that they worked with. They had mentors. Some of them were doing healers. They were all doing kind of different things. And that was a whole new world to me. I mean, I had done personal development. I had done years of talk therapy. And I thought that I had done the work to get me to a place where this was as good as it was going to get, because I had done everything society had told me to do. And when I fell in with them, I started working with one of the coaches who my good friend introduced me to, and my life really began changing. I myself had experienced a lot of trauma. Trauma is not comparable, but it seemed like a lot of trauma. I had gone through a lot of bullying in high school, from death threats to having to transfer schools and all kinds of crazy things. And I had gone through Hurricane Irma, lost my home, lost all of my belongings, and a variety of different things, lost my grandparents to cancer, and just so many things that sent me into a survival state, a trauma state of disassociation, which, if you're not familiar with the trauma states, we have a handful of different ones. Most people are familiar with fight, flight, or freeze, but there's actually a couple outside of those. And I had gone into a full disassociation, which means that I was very disconnected from my body. I essentially shut down my emotions. So I came across as distant to other people because I had a hard time remembering small details or day-to-day things, and I just didn't really care. I had truly entered this place after going through so much. And like I said, I'd done a lot of what society told me to do. So a lot of these things, the mindset things that I was struggling with, the things in relationship and day-to-day in my career, I just thought at that point in my life that these were things I was always going to deal with, that this was what it was, that because of what I had gone through, it was never going to change. Granted, the things society told me to do, they helped to an extent, right? They got me to a place where I had experienced maybe like 20, 30%, maybe 40% getting there better in a lot of these areas, but it was never fully there. And I kind of accepted that this was the way it was. When I started working with the coaches and looking at different methods of healing, doing somatic work, which somatic work can range from breath work to tapping to shaking your body, leaning into a wall, punching a pillow, so many different avenues, and doing energy healing, that is when I started to notice actual shifts. And I really leaned into that. As I was working with my mentor, after about a year and a half, I told her I was going through a spiritual awakening, and I told her, I truly feel like I can take these spiritual gifts that I had had for years, but I had really shut down because it wasn't very acceptable in my family. I was raised very Catholic, and it wasn't something I ever openly spoke about. And I told her, I really feel like I can do something with these gifts. I can combine them with different modalities, and I feel like I can help people and use this. And she was like, yes, you can go figure out how to do it and go do it. And I went through certifications, I got mentors, I started just figuring it out. I eventually closed down my marketing business, went all in, and it led to this beautiful, amazing thing where I now get to help people every single day go from that place of feeling like things won't change to seeing the results, seeing the actual change from their mindset and how they feel to the tangible results in their 3D lives.
Wow, that is quite a story. You did have a horrible year. That is a lot to absorb, but I'm so grateful that you ended up in North Carolina with the right people.
Everything takes us somewhere we're supposed to be, right?
I totally agree. And I can totally relate to kind of putting everything in the back. I think a lot of people do that with trauma. And, it may not be as many traumas as you've had all together at once, kind of, overwhelming you. But I can totally understand, how people sometimes, I had the opposite. It wasn't that I was closed off to people, it was that I was happy, but I wasn't deep enough. Do you know what I mean? Like there was still trauma there, but on the surface, you seem like, oh, you're absolutely fine. No problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always tell people, like I said, trauma isn't comparable. Sometimes huge things happen and people are like, oh my God, are you okay? And like, yeah, that wasn't a big deal. But sometimes it's the little things that actually impact us more. Two people can go through the exact same thing and they respond completely differently. Every nervous system is unique. The way everybody responds is unique, and the way that it impacts not only your relationship to your body and your nervous system and your emotional body, but your thoughts, your day-to-day actions. And it really trickles into every area of our lives, whether we realize it or not.
Yeah, that's so true. And I think some people too, when they're going through the trauma, may just find coping mechanisms and then they get through it. And it's really not until after the trauma, a week, a month, a year, that sometimes things bubble up and surface as well. Do you find that?
Oh, absolutely. Especially when we're going through the trauma, we oftentimes are in that survival mode. We're taught to survive, to get through it, to get out of it, to do whatever we need to do. And we're not able to fully process it. If we are not processing what's happening in the moment, anytime we feel unsafe, anytime we experience shock or grief, it's going to essentially, if you think of like a little ball, and that is the trauma that happens, we start building protective layers around it. We have those coping mechanisms, those physical armoring of your muscles locking. We have beliefs that we form around them, values, identities, characteristics that we form around this trauma to protect ourselves from ever going back into it and experience it. So if all of these things are these defensive layers built around our trauma, essentially what we need to do is to actually feel it and process it in order to release. So it's natural that as things trigger us or reminders come in, that it kind of blows up or comes to the surface or bubbles up. And then all of a sudden you feel like you've regressed or you don't know what's happening or where this is coming from. But it really does make a lot of sense on every single level, like scientifically, energetically, emotionally, all of the different layers that are piled up to keep us safe, because that's what our body and our nervous system is built to do. It's designed to keep us safe. And sometimes that means creating unhealthy coping mechanisms or sarcasm as a defensive layer. A lot of people use that one.
So let's talk a little bit about some of the clients that you've worked with. Tell me a little bit about some people who came to you, maybe even in the beginning, and how you helped them through, or some of your favorites or some of the most dramatic changes. We'd love to hear the success stories.
Yeah, so many success stories. This is a hard one. Well, it's not a hard one, but I have to think about it for a moment. One client specifically is coming to mind who she had truly experienced so much in her teenage years. Homeless, divorce from her parents, abuse, a lot of different factors. And when she came to me, she was in a very similar state. a lot of, she had said, like, a lot of my things, I had done a lot of work around, and my relationship is to a point where I'm not sure if it's repairable. I hate my career. I'm constantly frustrated. I feel depressed. I feel like this is my last resort. And through our work together, through going into those beliefs, going into every layer, I believe that we hold things not just physically, but also emotionally, mentally, and energetically, because if everything is made up of energy, it impacts all of these different layers. And as we go through, we work through them somatically, we work through releasing them emotionally, we reprogram them mentally, and we heal them and clear them energetically. You're able to really feel like you are finally to that place where, oh my gosh, things feel different. Things have changed. That was her case. She has now really entered this era. She just actually told me she got a promotion. Her relationship is thriving. She feels so much happier. She has created this life that is a complete 180 from where she started when working with me. And that is just one story of how, when we learn from even little things like remembering what it is to feel joy, so many people don't feel joy in their day-to-day lives. And it's crazy when we think about that, because you're like, well, of course I feel joy. But how often do you actually sit down and enjoy little things like reading by the fire, warm cup of hot chocolate, like things that actually fill you up every single day? Stop moving through things as if you're just doing the actions, and actually do them intentionally. I have another client who came to me very successful, and she was like, I don't feel the way that I thought I would having this success. I thought that at this point I would be happy, I would feel fulfilled, and I would feel really secure and safe. And I just don't. I've achieved everything that I have wanted to achieve, and I don't feel different. After going into her past and her childhood and looking at those wounds, at her different relationships with her family members, her past partners, different things along those lines, she finally forgave herself for so much that she had been holding on to. And once we were able to, again, go into the different layers, do the actual work, process and release what she was holding on to in her body without even realizing it, she is thriving. She's still doing the same career. She feels so much more fulfillment and joy and happiness and just presence. That is her biggest thing, is she feels presence, and she loves that, because for a long time she had done something similar, which is to disassociate, to not feel what was happening in her body and ignore what her body was telling her. They're all so different depending on the client and their own personal story, and how we move through it is so unique. But no matter what, seeing them go through that transformation from truly being in that place where they don't feel confident, they don't feel fulfilled, they don't feel happy, they don't trust themselves or other people around them, to going to a state where you get to see and experience their life changing, is my favorite part of this work.
I love that. Yeah. It's so interesting. I think that we do like sometimes disconnect what our body is doing, from, we don't even realize that, when, let's say, we have a presentation to give and all of a sudden everything is all tight and squished up together. And then you got to go, whew, let that go. And sometimes we just don't even recognize that everything's all tight and, it's in my chest or it's in my stomach. And so it's so great. You're giving people different ways to cope with that and to get over that.
100%. And a lot of people listening to this are probably familiar with the book, The Body Keeps the Score, which is very true in that statement, as in our bodies do respond. And sometimes we don't know why they're responding a certain way or what they're responding to. Oftentimes, a lot of the things that I see and work with clients in are from memories they're not even aware of, or rooted in things they don't remember from when they were 2, 3, 4 years old, armoring in those physical responses. But there will be signs. We do tend to have injuries in areas where we hold traumas or experience issues there, whether that's bloating or hormonal imbalances or repeated coughs, different things along those lines. A lot of my clients, too, even if we're not working on something specifically that is a physical issue that they're dealing with, they experience really big results physically as well. They're releasing things that they are physically holding on to. And the way that our healthcare system works, our world works, that's not how they're trained to look at things. I've even had clients, I've had one client specifically come to me with tumors. And through our healing work, tumors that she was told would not be resolved, would never go away, would never get smaller, anything like that, they have shrunk, they have gone down through a 3-month package together. And I haven't spoken to her lately, but I really need to get an update on how she's doing. She, after one session with me, told me she was able to eat food again for the first time in weeks without experiencing pain or bloating and inflammation in her body after just one session. It was mind blowing. Wow. I'm not promising crazy results to everyone like that for physical results. I'm not a doctor, but there is a connection, I truly believe.
We're so grateful for people like you who are helping people who are struggling. What kind of tips would you give to someone who is struggling right now? They're feeling like, I can't see the optimism. I can't feel the positivity. I can't feel the feelings, good or bad. So where would you tell them, aside from, come see me, which we'll talk about in a few minutes, but other than that, well, can you just give them somewhere to start?
Absolutely. I would start by saying that all of this is normal. I am a huge advocate of normalizing everything, what we're feeling, what we're experiencing, and it's part of being human. One of our main purposes is also to feel things. And in order to feel good things, we also have to feel the bad things, which is not fun. And I understand that. For a long time, I lived my life in that neutral zone because I didn't want to feel anything. And one day it hit me that I'm not supposed to live life that way. Because when you shut down the bad things, you're also shutting down feeling the good things, because we're turning that off completely. You can't just have all good things and nothing bad happens. So, or nothing quote unquote bad, but you're not going to feel sorrow or pain or fear or shock. For anyone who is feeling that way, what I would say to you is you don't have to start somewhere big. You don't need to get overwhelmed. You can take very slow steps. You can take as much time as you need. Everyone's timeline is different. Everyone's journey is different. Just start somewhere. Whether that means putting yourself into a yoga class because that feels safe to you, or taking an online tapping class because that feels safe to you. Doing something that is a small step, reaching out, telling someone that you trust how you feel, who you know is going to respond in a supportive and caring way. You don't have to go from 0 to 100. You don't have to go from feeling nothing to all of a sudden feeling everything, because that's not going to help you. And so anyone who is not normalizing it, is not supporting you, is not allowing you to make the changes that you truly want to make and know you need to make to get to a place where you feel good, start being really mindful of who you surround yourself with, where you surround yourself. Those are big things that impact us a lot more than you think. And you can start listening to podcasts like this that give you a little more courage and faith. Listen to stories, listen to different tips. Surround yourself by the voices who have gone through transformations so that you know it's possible. Even if at this moment you don't actually believe it's possible for you. I know it is, but even if you don't believe it, because we are who we surround ourselves with. And you can surround yourself with people who will support you with books, with audio, with podcasts, with social media, and clear out the noise that is preventing you from making the changes that you desire, that is keeping you in a box.
So Mari, tell us how people can get a hold of you if they want to work. I'm assuming you just work one-on-one with people.
I do actually a few different things. So I do one-on-one. I've always wanted to make sure one-on-one is an option because when dealing with trauma, oftentimes people don't feel safe to go outside of one-on-one, and that's okay. I also offer some group programs occasionally, and some of those look like just receiving energy healing. Some of them are more trauma-informed containers in safe, intimate settings. And then I have a couple of online courses, including one of my favorites, which is a 30-day program to rewire how you feel in your body. And so this program gives you, it's about 15 minutes a day. You get a different action item every single day for 30 days. And it really gets you back into your body. It's designed to create safety in your body and change how you move through things. So I offer a variety of things. I have online meditations, self-guided, different options. And I really wanted work with me to be accessible to everyone, no matter where they're at in their journey and where they want to get started.
So should they go to your website?
Yes, I didn't even mention that. You can find me at my website, which is Mari Leigh, or you can find me on Instagram or TikTok at Mari Leigh B. So you guys can DM me, send me questions, and I'm here to help you guys figure out what is the best fit for you.
I love that. You are very generous. So I have
you.
one last question for you. If you could provide one tip to make the world a better place, what would that be?
My tip would be to not dream small. I do not believe that we are given dreams that are not meant for us and that are not achievable for us. And so if you have dreams, no matter how wild or crazy or inaccessible they feel, do it anyways. Work towards it anyways. Take steps towards it. Because even doing one small action thing a day will get you 100 times farther than if you stay where you are. So work towards it. Allow yourself to dream. We shut that down as we grow up, as we experience trauma. And it's not how we're meant to live life. It keeps us stuck. Don't hold yourself back. Get out of your comfort zone just a little bit. Because when you get out of your comfort zone, you allow yourself to grow, you allow yourself to change, and you allow yourself to experience life.
Thank you, Mari. This has been fantastic. And actually, the way we usually sign our emails is dream big, because we totally agree with that, and love that. So thank you so much for joining me today. I think our audience is going to have a lot of wonderful options to make their dreams come true. So thank you. Thanks for joining us today on Blueprints for Brilliance Coaching Insights. We hope you're leaving this episode with inspiration to take your coaching business and your life to the next level. If you found value in this episode, we would love it if you would subscribe and share it with someone else who you think might benefit from hearing it. Thanks, and we'll see you in the next episode.